Four different fires were struck in our region, two of which have grown together to become the largest fire that firefighters are battling right now. It's gone to 2 alarms, and as you can see on the screen there, lots of smoke being kicked up from this brush and grass fire that's burning south of Wenatchee, about 10 miles south of Wenatchee, above the Malaga-Alcoa Highway. We had video footage from this earlier with a Sky-Fi camera. It was reported in the 3 o'clock hour, shortly after these storms moved through the area and started just as a small bit of smoke, and it was toned out. The fire crews arrived on screen and found it was in a very difficult situation, very difficult terrain to try to attack. They had to wait for some help of both aerial as well as bulldozer support. So as they had to wait on that, the fire grew with our afternoon winds here and have become a pretty large fire here this afternoon. Now, so far we have no reports of any structures damaged or threatened and no evacuations. However, a fire reportedly in the Palisades area has caused some traffic backups on Highway 28 between Crescent Bar and East Wenatchee. We also have a fire reported this afternoon in the Kingsbury Road area near the Kalakam. So we're keeping a track on 4 different fires here today that have apparently been struck by lightning in that system that moved through this afternoon. But again, so far, so good as far as any evacuations, but we'll keep you abreast on our Facebook page at ncwlife.com. With the latest on the fire coverage from the NCW Life Channel newsroom, I'm Eric Granstrom. Stay tuned. Steve Hare has your local news, and we'll take a look at sports and weather coming up next on the NCW Life Channel.
It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life Channel. The latest from around the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, Cody Johnson, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Well, good evening and welcome to NCW Life News for a Monday. I'm Steve Hare. Here are the stories we're following for you tonight. First, an update on the brush fire up number 2 Canyon in Wenatchee. Also, a missing Mount Vernon man was found dead at the Chelan Butte Friday, and the body of a missing Mercer Island man who was glissading on Asgard Pass was finally recovered yesterday. Plus, a 5-car pileup stopped traffic on US 2 near Leavenworth over the weekend. Coming up also, sports with Eric Granstrom and a comprehensive weather forecast for North Central Washington with Dan Kuntz. Our top story this afternoon, the number 2 Canyon fire was in mop-up stage this morning after burning less than 3 acres of mostly grass and brush over the weekend. Chelan County Fire District 1 Chief Mike Burnett said it was fully contained as of this morning, and he says the fire was ignited by gunfire.
People that reported it actually stated that they started the fire while target practicing. Firearms.
Burnett said the hot weather and windy conditions contributed to very volatile conditions over the weekend, although we're seeing some rainfall in the foothills west of Wenatchee this afternoon, and that's being accompanied by some lightning strikes as well. So it just bears wait and see until we can find out tomorrow morning if anything else has started up. Meanwhile, a hand crew in a hill attack operation was expected to continue today, and mop-up work should be completed by this evening. It was being manned mostly by local fire district personnel today. Well, the body of a missing Mount Vernon man was found Friday at the bottom of Chelan Butte at Lake Chelan. Rich Magnuson with the Chelan County Sheriff's Department said the victim, identified as 31-year-old Jonathan M. Taylor, was reported overdue the previous day from a camping trip in the Chelan area. Meanwhile, a ground and air search failed to locate the man, and the search was resumed Friday. His body finally located at the bottom of a steep embankment. Cause of Taylor's death is not known. His body was turned over to the coroner for an autopsy. Well, the body of a missing Mercer Island man who was killed at glissading near Asgard Pass was recovered Saturday. A team of Chelan County Mountain Rescue members and a Chelan County Search and Rescue deputy recovered the body of 19-year-old Benjamin Gore. Now, Gore disappeared into a crevasse on June 4th while sliding down the glacier. Initial attempts to locate him were unsuccessful due to the depth of the snow and fast-running water. Now, the body was turned over to the Chelan County Coroner's Office. The family's been notified, and thanks to mountain rescue personnel for providing us with these images of that recovery effort. Elsewhere over the weekend, traffic was snarled Saturday for several hours after a 5-car pileup along US 2 in the Leavenworth area. Now, the roadway was blocked after 5 eastbound vehicles collided about a mile east of Leavenworth. It happened at 3:51 in the afternoon. State Patrol troopers blamed driver inattention and speeding for the crash. It happened when one driver slowed and was struck by a second vehicle, setting off a chain reaction involving 3 more vehicles. Only minor injuries resulted. The injured were all transported to Cascade Medical Center in Leavenworth. Coming up, Wenatchee School District closes an investigation on its transportation director, and legislation that could make the electric grid more wildfire resistant passes a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives. I'm Steve Hare. You're tuned to NCW Life News.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life community calendar at ncwlife.com.
Welcome back to NCW Life News. For a Monday, I'm Steve Hare. Legislation designed to make the electric grid more wildfire resistant has passed a critical vote in the U.S. House of Representatives. The bill provides for closer collaboration between the power utilities and the U.S. Forest Service, and that goal is to maintain cleaner transmission line corridors along forest lands.
The real focus is to maintain safe clearance for our utility lines that pass through right-of-way on the federal lands. As you will remember, in Chelan County, many of those lands are forested, heavily forested in the mountains, so it was really gives us really another tool for working with federal right-of-way requirements.
Kimberly Craig with the PUD said the bill also streamlines the federal permitting process.
You know, we're always looking to be more efficient in permitting, and this does provide a little streamlining in the permitting and training for federal employees. And, you know, it specifically allows the pruning of tree limbs that extend into utility rights-of-ways, and it allows clearing of nearby brush.
The measure passed easily out of the House of Representatives. It's now expected to receive bipartisan support in the Senate. And Craig stresses, of course, that the Chelan County PUD currently contracts a private company to do that cleanup work along those transmission lines, along those forested areas. Also today, Wenatchee School District Transportation Director will undergo leadership training as a response to a recently concluded investigation. The district says in a prepared news release that an outside investigator was hired back in May, and that was after receiving complaints from the union representing Transportation Department staff regarding the manner in which Director Bob Sanford manages the department. Well, the external investigation was concluded on June 9th. It resulted in recommended improvements to address issues raised by the union that would result in Sanford's attending special training in team building, communication, and administration management. Fun time up in the Upper Valley. The Leavenworth Tiny House Village opened at the Leavenworth RV Campground to a crowd of more than 500 people Saturday afternoon. Here you can see a picture of the small little tiny Bavarian-style cabins, 5 custom-designed cabins, also called petite retreats, were on display and open for reservations. Now, the tiny houses have become a popular vacation alternative if you're looking for hiking on the nearly 7 miles of trails in the summer or ready to ski the slopes in the winter. You can make your vacation tiny. And I'm sure you can get more information from 1,000 Trails for that information, or the Leavenworth RV Campground. You're watching NCW Life News for a Monday. Coming up next, we have Eric Grandstrom with your sports report and our feature story today on a local Chelan man whose remote marijuana grow hangs in the balance of potential county-wide zoning regulations. That story and more as NCW Life continues for a Monday.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.
And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life channel.
And a good Monday evening. The Wenatchee Valley Rams found a way to beat the Tri-City Rage Saturday at Lee Bofto Field at the Apple Bowl 22-20. But according to social media posts from players and coaches, Saturday's game was the last home game in franchise history. Andy Jones, who's played for the Rams on defense the last 6 seasons, said on Facebook Saturday, quote, "I've been blessed to play with the Rams. I've traveled all over the state of Washington, Montana, and Oregon, and even Colorado to play a game I love with the men I consider brothers. I'm somewhat disbelief of tonight being the last Rams, the last time the Rams will take the field in Wenatchee. Can't believe it's over." Meanwhile, Rams coach and owner Mickey White also posted a thank you to everyone involved over the years in making the Wenatchee Valley Rams successful. He says well, basically, thank you to everybody who's helped him along the way and helped the team along the way. We've reached out to Coach White in hopes of getting a statement. Wenatchee was to host another game July 8th. That's still to be determined. The Western Washington Football Alliance website says it's a TBD, so to be determined. Also, they were supposed to finish up the season on the road at Snohomish County against the Vikings July 15th, but that's all up in the air now because it looks like the Rams may have folded up the tents. When the Wenatchee Apple Sox began play 18 years ago, they were part of the Pacific International League. One of their old rivals was in town Sunday for a non-league game, the Everett Merchants. Everett still plays in the PIL, currently in second place in the 6-team league behind the Seattle Cheney Studs. On Sunday, the Apple Sox took down the Merchants 7-5. True freshman Joey Zamora tied the game in the 7th on a solo home run and provided the go-ahead RBI in the 8th with a single. Wenatchee has the night off tonight before getting back into West Coast League play tomorrow with Port Angeles coming to town. Game time against the Lefties at 7:05. Also in West Coast League play last night, it was Walla Walla Downing victorious 7-6. Yakima Valley over Gresham 10-8. Bend beat Kelowna 11-5. It was Cowlitz in a barn burner beating Port Angeles 16-12. And Corvallis got by Bellingham in a great game 8-7. The final there, you see the standings again. Bellingham in first, Kelowna second, Walla Walla third. Wenatchee currently in fourth place. Robinson Cano's 2-run double in the second inning was all the offense Seattle could muster Sunday, falling to Houston 8-2. Ariel Miranda ran into trouble in a 4-run fourth inning, allowing a home run to George Springer, an RBI double by Carlos Correa, and a 2-run homer from Yuli Gurriel. Seattle thought it had a 3-0 lead on Cano's double in the second after a challenge on a play at the plate, but confusion reigned after the home plate umpire gave the safe signal after getting off the headsets from the replay officials in New York. Manager Scott Service covered it all in his post-game press conference.
Ariel ran into trouble just in the one inning today, and got a couple balls up. But for the most part, he did throw the ball well. Just the one inning got him, and he gave up 4 out of his 5 hits in that one inning. So, disappointing ball game today. I thought, early in the game, really had their starter on the ropes, Martes, and. We really could cash in. Robbie gets the big double. We have the play at the plate, which I'm shocked was not overturned. Pretty clear to me. I've had a few of those lately that have been shocking. I'm not quite sure what the people in New York are looking at, if it's the same view that we have. But, obviously didn't get the third run there. And then they went to their bullpen and Felice and Davinsky, did a good job. They shut us down. They outpitched us, there, and then kind of their offense. We had nothing going against them at all at that period. So, disappointing ball game. I think, coming in, we were playing really well coming into this series. The last couple of days, they just shut us down offensively.
Houston took 2 of 3 from the Mariners over the weekend. Seattle has today off before hosting Philadelphia in the first of 2 games tomorrow at Safeco Field. James Paxton will face Aaron Nola. That's a look at sports. I'm Eric Granstrom on the NCW Life Channel. Steve, back to you.
Thanks, Eric. Hopefully the Mariners can get back on the winning track. And as Chelan County commissioners move toward adopting new zoning regulations for marijuana growers this month, many in the industry find themselves worried for their futures. That's the subject of today's feature report. Tom Hickey, a grower on the south shore of Lake Chelan, says his remote farm should not suffer under the new blanket regulations.
It's a tier 2 grow here, and it is also consists of approximately 350 plants that are alive at the end of the year. We start out with less than that, but that's what we're up to, which no one can smell unless they're trespassing. So that's what we have, and we start off in May every year because of the weather. And the plant stock is brought in, and then by the second week of October, we're done. It's came to where a company comes, they cut them all down, they take them out, they're gone. They take the entire plant. I stayed out of this. I saw it in the background. I never really thought it would have anything to do with us, because it doesn't have anything to do with us by the stated reasoning, which is that the neighbors are complaining about the lighting and the smell, okay? Those people have a legitimate concern, and those things should be dealt with. If they were a previously existing permanent residence and a fully permitted person in a house, winery, business, person, doesn't matter to me. Those people have issues, and they need to be resolved. But the resolution of their issues, if the true reason is, as stated, should not include a nuclear option that destroys people like us on a remote setting, as you know, to be here. They talk about a 1,500-foot barrier. We got all that from any other previously existing permanent residence that's fully permitted. No such place exists here. That's the text we need. I pay tax on 60 acres and another property here in this county. My rights are worth every bit as much as the few people that are driving this. And I don't believe every one of them want what you say or what you're trying to do here. The better solution from day one, if somebody's educated and unbiased, would have been to deal with the resolutions and eliminate them. If they can't be resolved, that's life. Then you do eliminate those situations, and they have to make a move or do something. But other ones that have no issues at all, not just me, if they have no complaints, if you go there and you can't get one neighbor who's going to sign on to what you're saying the reason is, then those people too need consideration. But I don't speak for any group. I speak for myself. So for me, I'm on a remote mountain. I say again, and I've said it to these commissioners in emails, every time we think we're getting close to, oh yeah, we're going to consider you, you're on the record. Okay, far out. All right, I'm on the record. But 60 acres, that's 700 feet from me, a vacant land is going to cause me a problem, okay? I go again. 1,000 feet, whatever, from any previously built, fully permitted, permanent residence. That's a good milestone. This is the reality. This is why I'm upset, because we lost our house over there in 2015 to a natural disaster. And now a disastrous man-made decision can threaten our livelihood. How can that be true? I want that question asked of them. How would they justify this? There is no way.
Meanwhile, commissioners are scheduled to continue the discussions on the new marijuana regulations starting at tomorrow at 2 p.m. in Wenatchee. We'll be right back in just a moment with a recap of today's top stories, also your weather forecast for North Central Washington as NCW Live News continues.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life Community Calendar at ncwlife.com.
Welcome back to our Monday edition of NCW Life News. Well, the top stories of the day, the number 2 Canyon Fire was in mop-up stage this morning after burning less than 3 acres of mostly brush and grass. Chelan County Fire District 1 Chief Mike Burnett said it was fully contained as of this morning. He says the fire was ignited by gunfire.
People that reported it actually stated that they started the fire while target practicing. Firearms.
Burnett said the hot weather and windy conditions contributed to a very volatile condition up there in the foothills west of Wenatchee. This afternoon, of course, we're getting some moisture in the mountains with cloudy skies, even some lightning strikes. So it bears watching to see if we had any more fire starts as a result of the recent storm activity. Meanwhile, a hand crew and helitack operations were expected to continue today, and the mop-up should be completed by this evening. Well, the body of a missing Mount Vernon man was found Friday at the bottom of Chelan Butte. Rich Magnuson with Chelan County Sheriff's Department said the victim, identified as 31-year-old Jonathan M. Taylor, was reported overdue the previous day from a camping trip in the Chelan area. Meanwhile, a ground and air search failed to locate him, and the search was resumed Friday. His body was eventually located at the bottom of a steep embankment. The cause of Taylor's death is not known. His body was turned over to the coroner for an autopsy. And the body of a missing Mercer Island man who was glissading near Asgard Pass was found. Over the weekend, a team of Chelan County Mountain Rescue members, with assistance from the Chelan County Sheriff's helicopter and the search and rescue deputy, recovered the body of 19-year-old Benjamin Gore. Gore disappeared into a crevasse on June 4th while sliding down the glacier. Initial attempts to locate him were unsuccessful due to the snow depth and fast-running water in that snow hole. The body was turned over to the Chelan County Coroner's Office, and the family has been notified. Also for the weekend, traffic was snarled Saturday for over an hour. In fact, several hours after a 5-car pileup along US 2 in the Leavenworth area. Roadway was blocked after 5 eastbound vehicles collided about a mile east of Leavenworth. It happened at 3:51 in the afternoon. State Patrol blames driver inattention and speeding for the crash when one driver slowed and then was struck by a second vehicle from behind, and that set off a chain reaction involving 3 additional vehicles. Luckily, only minor injuries reported. The big problem there was the traffic snarl for several hours. The injured were transported to Cascade Medical Center at Leavenworth for treatments. And now let's turn to our weather forecast. Here's Dan Kuntz with the weather.
The National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning for north central Washington and the Columbia Basin. The warning began at 2 o'clock this afternoon, runs until 8 this evening. A red flag warning means that critical fire weather conditions exist due to gusty winds, high temperatures, and low relative humidity. The high pressure ridge that brought us sunshine and warm temperatures is beginning to slide to the east. That will usher in some unstable air tonight and tomorrow. In fact, a pop-up thunderstorm or two is possible before sunrise on Tuesday. Tonight, look for mostly clear skies with a low of around 63 degrees. It will be breezy with a northwest wind 14 to 20 miles an hour with gusts above 30 at times. The afternoon high temperature on Tuesday will be about 10 degrees cooler than the last couple of days with some residual winds. Look for a high tomorrow of 87. Wednesday, yet another sunny day with light breezes and a high of 85. And then warmer conditions return by Thursday with the arrival of another high-pressure system and high temperatures climbing back up into the mid-90s by Friday and Saturday. As far as the weather for Independence Day, July 4th, just a little too far away to give you an accurate prediction of what Mother Nature has in store. And once again, the National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning for all of north central Washington from 2 o'clock this afternoon until 8 o'clock this evening. That means critical fire weather is here. And that's your forecast on the NCW Life Channel.
And that'll be a wrap on our Monday afternoon news. For more on these stories, you can always find everything you need to know around north central Washington on our website at ncwlife.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and you can also follow us on Twitter, too. And by the way, if you see news happening, we'd sure like you to share it with us. You can send it to us by email at news@ncwlife.com, or give us a call on our hotline, 888-NCWL. That's 888-6295 for breaking news. I'm Steve Hare. Have a great evening.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life Channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com. Like us on Facebook and follow NCW Life Channel on Twitter.
Get the fastest internet available in north central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.